Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Milan Reports post match discussion. My name's Riccardo. I'm here with Sabrina, and we have an exciting one to talk about because Milan just beat Hellas Verona 3-1 away from home. Full of excitement. The Scudetto is getting closer and closer. We're at the top of the table. How are we feeling today, Sabrina?
Absolutely amazing. This was I was saying before we went live, this is the game that was really worrying me of our last three. And to see them come with not just like a shaky 1-0 victory, but a 3-1 victory. Oh, I'm over the moon. This is exactly what we needed and the exact mentality we needed to see from the guys.
Exactly. We talked a lot about certain changes we wanted for this game, especially in the lineup. Talk about experimentation a little bit. We saw that with Krunic being put into the lineup. We'll go ahead and talk about that. Some of our star players really stepping up and delivering fantastic performances. Players like Rafael Leao getting some assists today. Wow, spectacular performance. And then just overall, the full player ratings. Go ahead and discuss this Pioli masterclass. Is that what we'll call it? But the Scudetto's near. We got two games. This was a very, very important one. Huge, shaky start at the beginning. Verona getting the goal first after Sandro Tonali, questionable offsides. We'll go ahead and discuss that. We'll discuss his two goals that did go ahead and go in, but go ahead and soak it in. This was a very important 3-1 win. And I'll go ahead and ask you right off the bat, Sabrina, how are you feeling here just starting the match right before kickoff here, going into this match? I know that we talked about how important it was going into it, but what were you feeling? You know,
I was talking with my dad this morning, and we were sitting there going, this is like the big hurdle. This is the game that worries us, and it just depends on how they start the game. Depends on how they're going to come out and start playing. And when I saw the way that they were coming at the game, attacking, just the general play, I just knew that they were going to win. I wasn't even upset when it kind of seemed like, oh God, is this the same old story in a way where we got the goal, it was disallowed, then Verona got the goal. And I'm like, no, I wasn't even upset. I'm like, we're winning this game. There was just something about the way they were playing. And maybe that's just a belief in the squad that, hey, we're so close, we can do it. But as soon as I saw them playing the first 10, 15 minutes, I'm like, yep, this is a win. And I love feeling that way because I haven't felt like that um, in a few months where I felt
mm-hmm.
sure that Milan would win a game. But my God, it was a brilliant performance and also a win. So to have those two things together at this point of the season with the implications, it feels great. So great.
I mean, you sounded a lot more optimistic, especially after they went ahead and scored first. Definitely with the goal being ruled out and then them scoring first. I thought we're going to see some absolute BS here. Some I don't know what to say, but we went ahead and turned it around here at the end of the first half. We went ahead and got the goal. Sandro Tonali redeemed himself there, putting on the pressure in the box and then getting the goal. Going into halftime, 1-1. Not the best results to go ahead and go into halftime, but definitely better than, trailing here, trying to go ahead and fight back. So, and then just coming out, it looks like whatever speech Pioli gave to the guys there in the second half really worked out. It was such a beautiful win. I mean, Sandro Tonali went out there again and in less than 5 minutes scored another one after beautiful play here. Alexis Salamakers finding Rafael Leao, cut back here in the box, finding Tonali at the back post just to tap in there. What we like to see, and that has a lot to play with. Again, Pioli's tactics with the inclusion of Krunic here, and then Kessie also playing alongside Tonali, given the opportunity for a player like him to go ahead and go forward. And more importantly, on the topic of his two goals, Sabrina, birthday boy here, two goals on his 22nd. Cannot write this stuff.
It's true. And he just looked like a man on a mission from the first whistle. And he just embodies everything that is Milan. To see after so many painful years of watching players that you're just like, they don't even care. They're just here to collect their paycheck.
Mm.
And to watch this kid who loves this club, who supported the club his whole life, to come to have, he had a really difficult first season, to brush that off, earn his place in the starting 11, and be getting these crucial goals for us at this part of the season. Like the one against Lazio, these ones here, like, and I don't know. I don't know if it's just him talking with Leao that kind of led to that little bit of chemistry, or maybe it was something from Pioli. But for the two of them to say, and we'd be criticizing Leao for being in that kind of position in the past few games and just going for the shot and hitting the side netting instead of just putting it on the face of goal, cross that ball. And today, twice did it, twice in the back of the net. And like, it's phenomenal. I mean, Sandro Tonali, I love him. I have like speeches. This kid is amazing. Like, if I have a son, I want to name him after Sandro, because it's so nice to see players like that at Milan again. And especially not expecting it from a midfielder, that he was playing so advanced up the pitch and getting in those positions. Man, he was brilliant today. It would have been so nice for him to get that hat trick, but he never stopped. He could have said, I tried, got disallowed, whatever. The man never stopped. And kudos to him. And kudos to Leao. That's a beautiful partnership that I hope we can see more of in next season.
The mentality and determination from Tonali to just go ahead and step it up as a midfielder, to go ahead and score some goals here on his birthday, continues to be on fire, getting a goal over against Lazio. Now here, I mean, again, we talk about that mentality. There's only a few games left here. We need to go ahead and continue this drive here towards goal and just be so hungry to not only score one goal and hold on to these leads that we've seen all of this 2022 year so far, but managed to able to go ahead and score 3 goals. So very unlike Milan recently here. So definitely an outstanding performance. And on the topic of Leao here, I want to go ahead and say, Sabrina, your thoughts here. I know we want to go ahead and keep him as a Milan player. He's asking for more money. Investor Corp is looking to acquire Milan. Where do you stand here in this possibility of having Leao for the future long-term player, part of this Milan project?
I think we need to do everything we can to keep him within reason. Even if we do get new owners, we don't want to be back in the same situation where we're being poorly managed. So if there's a way that it could fit in, because the thing is, if you're going to double, triple, quadruple his salary, the rest of the players are going to look at that and say, I want that too, especially the ones who just signed deals. So if there's a smart way that we can make him happy and pay him what he wants, like, it's a no-brainer. I don't want this man leaving our club. He had a little bit of a rough start with Milan as well, but to see what he's developed into this season, even after having that rough patch, to be able to come back from that and play the way he's playing, and you know that every team that's playing Milan is trying to mark him out of the game, and yet somehow, especially like games like today, where he had 2-3 players on him and he was still able to slip away from pressure and have 2 assists. It's remarkable. This is a player that they should be like number 1 on the list of, or let's call it a tie, because I want Benacer, his contract wrapped up as well. But this should be a huge priority for management. Who cares what owners are going to be here, whether it's Elliott Investcorp. Get this man signed. We need him to stay with Milan because he's only going to get better.
Well said. Just wanted to go ahead and see your opinions, discussion on, if you were looking to go ahead and keep Leao long term. Definitely a player that I would like to go ahead and have a club as well, continue the project. Again, there's other positions on the team that we need to go ahead and worry about now for the long term. So if we do go ahead and get new owners, if the finances are available, just like you, Sabrina, I think we could go ahead and finance this and make sure that we get Leao what they're looking for specifically to his whole party. So make sure that on that topic, we'll conclude. Before we get to the player ratings, wanted to go ahead and read off here the Serie A standings here, how it stands. Today, Milan, the 36 matches, able to go ahead and break 80 points. So 80 points here. Pretty exciting. Still have, like I mentioned, 2 games to go with Atalanta here coming up.
Yep.
It's going to be a tough one. but they've had a pretty, I don't want to say horrendous, but not the best home record here. So this is definitely, again, if players go ahead and continue to this mentality and determination, just like here, away from home at Hellas Verona, able to go ahead and get the 3 points. It's just being that optimistic and that confidence and belief behind the team, just like how you were feeling today. But Inter, 2 points behind us here, sitting at 78 points here. And then Napoli here, 73 points. Looks like that Empoli loss really took him out here of the race here. I was hoping that Empoli would go ahead and do the double kill here and take Inter out of the race. I had my saved drafts ready, but had to go ahead and delete those since it never happened. But it's okay. It's in our hands now. We can't go ahead and continue talk about Inter here and their officiating and Serie A and all of that. So with that, go ahead and being said, we can't. It's for another time.
That's pointless.
It's in our hands. I think as long as we continue to win, can't complain. So go ahead and pull in here the player ratings, and it's one with the higher numbers. One of the better ones. Not no six, no fives, I think. So see here, I'll go ahead and make it full screen. Hopefully everybody can go ahead and see that player ratings here, brought to you by our friends here at Milan Reports. Hellas Verona 1, Milan 3. Pioli, overall rating of 7.5. We deemed to Sandro Tonali, man of the match, with a rating of 8, getting 2 goals on his birthday. Happy birthday. And our back line here, Theo Hernandez with the 6, Calabria with the 6.5, Tamori 6.5, Kalulu 7. Our midfield block, again, Tonali with that 8, Kessia that 6. Introduction of Benacer later, getting that rating of 6. And then our wingers, Alexis Salamakers, 6.5. Have a lot nicer things to say this game here. Of course, we can always go ahead and touch up here on his shooting ability. But Mike Magnan with 6. Busy man today, especially in the first half. Verona coming out very energetic with a lot of pace. 1-2 touches, shooting at goal. Nothing too complex for Mike, but again, keeping him busy. And then Giroud up top there with 6. Notable introduction to the lineup, probably what surprised a lot of people, including myself, was at the center attacking role, Krunic. But, he went ahead and stepped up in that position. Deemed him a 6.5. I think the introduction of Krunic was great from Pioli's perspective here. It was allowed Tonali to go ahead and get higher up the pitch, which really paid off. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. Only 2 of them counted. So that was great there. But overall, how do you feel here on our player ratings, Sabrina?
Yeah, I feel like it's all fair. Definitely Tonali's my man of the match. And yeah, we were saying about Salamakers. He had probably his best game of the season. And this is what we need. We need players to step up at the end of the season, being in the position we're in. And yeah, there was a little bit of disappointment. I'd say my worst players today were Calabria and Teo. Just weren't in it. Calabria was okay in the attack, but really, really shaky defensively. And Teo, I don't know if he had maybe like a little nagging injury or something, but he was really off today and almost it seemed like he was trying to pass back to Mignon at one point and pretty much gave the ball away to, I think it was Lasagna or Caprari. And but this is not Teo, like something's off. So overall, really solid performance, except for our 2 fullbacks who were a bit shaky. But luckily, we had our wall, Tamori and Kalulu and Mignon, that kept us in this game. But overall, yeah, definitely fair ratings and earned. It was a great game played by the whole squad.
Kalulu and Tamori, no yellow cards.
Thank God, because we can't go without them. We definitely need them to stay in the lineup for the rest of the season.
Likewise, I'm going to have to go ahead and agree with you just a little bit on the shaky side for Calabria and Theo. Another off game here could go ahead and just be one of those random ones for Theo Hernandez. We all know capabilities he provides to the team and that attacking outlet he also is. Didn't see much of that today, but regardless, we were able to go ahead and still get the results through other channels. So again, nice to see that we're not so heavily dependent on that whole left side. Yes, we're still dependent a little bit of our attacks from Leao. And Calabria. I think a lot with wearing the armband and a few games left. You're at the top of the table here, where at the start of the season, we weren't predicting, we weren't, setting our eyes out for winning the Scudetto. It was just getting the Champions League spot, which we managed to go ahead and get that now. But, there's a lot of pressure. So want to go ahead and ease off a little bit. I know in the past we've been really harsh on there. His attacking output has continued to go ahead and increase. Would have liked to go ahead and see him put that goal in the first half. I thought he was able to go ahead and get himself in the box again. He manages to get himself in the box at least once a game and get a shot where I think it's going in, but great save from the keepers there. But overall, our defense here was super sound in Tomori and Kalulu as well, not picking up a yellow card. And Kalulu, fantastic, just showing aggression there, winning balls in the air. Verona were really, really one-touch passing and moving and getting these flicks in the air and getting to the byline and squaring it back into the top of the six and on the PK spot. So just that positioning and awareness from everyone on our defense was really phenomenal. Turning it around there. I know that going down 1-0 in the first half can definitely play, away from home can play an impact on the mentality, but these guys just went ahead and turned it around. So hats off to them. So I don't know. Do you have anything you want to go ahead and say on everyone who played defense? Anything else? Or we could go ahead and move on here to the midfielders.
No, I think we can move on to the midfield, definitely.
I think Kessié here in first half, definitely not one of his best performances. Again, not really shining there. Probably one of our worst performing players today. But again, with him in there and Krunic again being introduced there, giving them the ability to go ahead, get Tonali chance to go up more, really paid off. So overall, the tactic worked well. I just think individual talent wise, this was just in the first half. I think in the second half, I wasn't too critical just because of the fact that, really excited on the goals here and some of the players were really standing out. I mean, Leao was just so electric. His acceleration's fantastic. So more intrigued into watching that. It was less stressful, wasn't too harsh, but introduction of Benacer. I thought Benacer came on with about 22 minutes left to play. Wanted to go ahead and see him come in a little bit early, especially when we thought it was going to be a little bit tighter. Usually these 2-1 games, we killed them out, just going 2-1. So getting that last 10-minute, that assurance goal, that one goal that says, all right, these are our 3 points. Fantastic from Florenzi, but really, really risking some of his decisions, Pioli. And with the introduction of Benacer, the last 23 minutes, personally, I would have liked to see him earlier. I think really played off. And a man who just came in and controlled the midfield. We know he's an engine there, able to go ahead and receive the ball in tight spaces, even with pressure on his back, able to go ahead and receive, distribute out. So definitely worked out for us there. And then continuing to put in players like Florenzi here, Macias, and Rebic to go ahead and keep the rotation. I guess I'll bring it over to you here, Sabrina. Talked a little bit on our midfield block and some of these substitutions that Pioli made here. Go ahead and talk about Giroud and the forwards here at the end here, like Leao, Salamakers, but, Kessié, Benacer, Krunic. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, honestly, Kessie kind of ghosted for me in the first half. I didn't really notice him at all. In fact, I had to double check to make sure he was actually playing because I said I saw him on the starting lineup, but I just don't see him. So I don't know if it's just that he's mentally checked out or if it's just, he's not really being a liability, so we don't really notice him too much either way. But he's just been a kind of meh player, and I feel like he was the same today. Complete opposite of Tonali, who was electric. He was everywhere. So, I mean, at least we know that if we've got one underperforming in the pivot, we've got the other one who's doing well. So kudos to Tonali for picking up the slack and good for Pioli for putting in Krunic. Like with Diaz, it's at the point where it's like trying to beat a dead horse here. He just hasn't been doing well. And at this point of the season, we can't just keep doing the same things and expecting a different result. So, I mean, Krunic, we all know, we praise him for his attitude and the way he is on the pitch. And he must be the same way in training. So it seems like Pioli's noticed that and decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to give him the shot. And he took it. He was amazing. He was even threatening on goal as well. I thought Krunic was excellent, doing what he does, being a really, really solid rotational player. Salamakers, I was really, really surprised. His best game of the season, for sure. And it must be hard for him too. He's been in and out of the lineup after this year signing a contract extension, then just having really, really poor form, being benched by someone who's a lone player. And for him to come in this game today, the hardest of the last three, and to step up the way he did, he got that hockey assist, as we like to call it in North America, for the go-ahead goal when he recovered the ball and then laid off to Leao. So just really, really impressed by Salamakers. I'm so glad to see it because we really need him stepping up. Seeing how great Leao is doing on the left, we need equal production on the right. So really, really impressed by him. Really disappointed with Giroud. I think he just struggled all game. Things just weren't working out for him. And everybody has their off days, and I think that's just what it was for him. And you could see he was visibly frustrated. He would, try and win a loose ball, and his touch would be a little too heavy, and he was struggling. And Pioli recognized that, and I think he did well to place Rebic in for Giroud. And even the announcers were like, taking out Giroud for Rebic? It's like, yeah, and good for Pioli because Giroud's a great player, but it just wasn't happening this game. And Rebic comes in, does a pretty solid job. Macias pretty solid as well. Same with Benacer. But talk about an instant impact from Florenzi. This man hasn't played in how many games? He hasn't seen the field in how many games? He comes on, and after 2 minutes has that goal, and it was insane.
Great volley.
It was just fantastic. And to see this player who he has Roma in his heart. He's Roman. He loves AS Roma. And to see him celebrating, like running over to the fans, celebrating with the guys. You even saw him earlier when he was on the bench, him and Ibra kind of coaching the guys from the sideline. It couldn't have happened to a better guy. I've always admired Florenzi. He's not the best player technically. And, I think players like that just kind of have a place in my heart, like Krunic, but he comes in, he buys into the system. He's very respectful. He knows his role. And I was just so happy to see that, especially since Calabria was really struggling in this game as well. So he came in, and that's good to see, because if Calabria is struggling in the next game or the one after that, it's nice to know that we have Florenzi back and we don't have to sacrifice, moving Kalulu out of the center back pairing and playing, Romagnoli or even Gabbia, who are just too rusty at this point to come back in. But seeing Florenzi come back and make an instant impact and play really solid kind of eases my nerves a bit, since Calabria isn't exactly stepping up into his potential the way that we expect.
So look, hypothetically, next season, if there is an introduction of Sven Botman to the club, possibly being pushed back out to right back, what does it look like for the year? Are we looking like he is going to be a Rossoneri player for next season? I know that this goal was definitely a memorable one. If it's going to go ahead and be a parting ways with us at the end of the season, is it a little bit too early to tell? I know he's not a full Milan player now, Botman, but obviously we're all experimenting with possible 11s now, where you put him and where you put Kalulu, Calabria, that right side. Just wanted to go ahead and get your 2 cents here, where Florenzi might stand for next season.
It's really hard to say because it depends on other things too, like is Romagnoli going to stay? If Romagnoli's going to stay, then you've got a really good center back rotation. You've got Tomori, you've got Botman, you've got Kair, Romagnoli, and you've got those players. So you'd think, okay, Kalulu can move over to the right side. But if Romagnoli leaves, it's like, you kind of don't want to be thin at the center back position. We saw what happened this year, having Romagnoli in and out of form and in and out of health. and then Kjaer tearing his ACL, and it was really scary. And we were really lucky that Kalulu stepped up into the player that he is. And no, I don't think anybody expected that out of him as a center back. So just so many moving parts. But, even if we use Florenzi as a depth player, I don't think his fee to redeem is too high. So I'd like to see him back, even if it's just to have that more senior player who could come in, if somebody's struggling or if somebody's injured, and he could play on the left side as well. It's not his forte, but if we did need him, he could swap around there. He's also very versatile. He's not a center, a fullback by trade. He's actually a midfielder. So I think he's a good utility player to have. And if the price is right, I would take him back for sure.
Okay, well said. Glad that you're able to go ahead and put in just what we think about Florenzi here. It'd be interesting to go ahead and follow that along throughout the summer. If Milan go ahead and fully acquire him, Sven Botman is introduced to the club, and if Romagnoli stays. So a lot of moving pieces, some factors that have to go ahead and be played here for all of this to go ahead and occur. So I guess we won't go ahead and go into too much detail here on that. Glad we were able to go ahead and discuss it a little bit, but quick comment here from Ferterio. How much do we think, Sabrina, that Pioli gave up on the Coppa Italia to force Inter to play an extra match?
That would be next level mind tricks if he did that. But I think he realized the writing was on the wall during the game. I think he went into it with every intention that we'll be playing to win the Coppa Italia and fighting for the Scudetto as well. But just once that game was in and that whole thing with the Benacer goal being called offside, I think once that happened, he was like, you know what? It's just not happening. And I don't want to overuse our resources in this Coppa Italia, and we might not even make it. And then it, excuse me, affects the league. So I don't know, but it might pay off because I know we don't want to talk about Inter and hope that they drop points to help us. But the fact of the matter is they have not looked well since that Bologna game and that Radu error. And if they're playing an extra game, especially after the really shaky way that they went to beat Empoli, a little help from the referees. And I'm not saying that they organized it, but let's be honest, that goal that was disallowed for Empoli was absolutely not offside. It was cleared by an Inter player. That should have absolutely been a goal. Empoli should have been up 3-0 at that point. What would have happened after that? I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, Inter's watching us win games. Inter's looking and saying, we really struggled against Empoli. We have to play Juventus in the Coppa Italia, and that's a derby in itself. So both teams are wanting to win. Neither of them are going to lay back and say, go ahead and take it. And then Inter have to play Cagliari, who are still they could still be saved. So Cagliari is not sitting on the bench. Yeah, it's absolutely great that Cagliari drew today, because they're not just sitting there going, season's over. What do we care? Mine's on vacation. They're fighting for survival. And they did the same thing last year. They got it on the second last match day of the season. So, it's only good that Inter's playing one more game than we are. And let's all hope as Milan fans that Coppa Italia game goes to, or I don't even know if it'll go to extra time because it's a final, but if it does, extra time, penalties, however long that game can draw out, the maximum amount of stoppage time. I just want them as tired as possible. Not going to wish any injuries on anyone, but let's hope they get tired out mentally and physically, and that can somehow give us a little bit of breathing room. But yeah, I think Pioli did the right thing in that semifinal, just realizing we're not coming back from this. Let's not tire ourselves out, risk any injuries. And so far, paying off. So kudos to Pioli.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go ahead and agree with you. It's all master level next thinking if he definitely gave up on the Coppa Italia on purpose. But I think there is at a certain point where you realize certain things you can't achieve. And I think a couple of the late goals really knocked us out. And then I'm going to agree with that it is a positive that Inter go ahead and play an extra match here against Juve, who this could be their only silverware this season. So definitely, hopefully, that this will be a hard fought match and that it will go ahead and give it to them as long as possible. No injuries, of course. But I don't know. I like to go ahead and be a little bit optimistic, positive here. That does could help us out a little bit in the long run here. Anything will help because again, afterwards they go against a very hungry Cagliari team who drew today and want to go ahead and survive this relegation. And it's tough for them because I think Salernitana is also having their moment right now. So there's a little race going on at the bottom. So um, it's crazy. Serie A this season has
Yeah.
been very entertaining, to say the least here. So it is still sad that we were not able to go ahead and get our hands on the Coppa Italia. I mean, to take it to our rivals in the semifinals, good run here, but now we're taking them to the Scudetto here again on our hands. I am liking all of the comments here that everyone is dropping in the chat. So if you guys want to go ahead and bring up more discussion, we can go ahead and do that while I go ahead and pull up the player ratings one last time here if there are anything we want to go ahead and discuss here. Any closing remarks, Sabrina?
No, just really proud of the guys. I thought it was overall a really dominant performance. And at no point in the game did I think, Verona had the upper hand. I thought we had this game firmly in control, even when we were trailing. So that's exactly the type of mentality you want to see from these guys, even though they're super young. It's exactly what you want to see from them. We have 2 games left. They have to play them like they're 2 finals. And I know Atalanta haven't been at their best, but they won today. They were tied. They came back. They won, and they could just be thinking, it means nothing to us, but we just want to make Milan miserable. We've done it before. I'm sure they loved beating us 5-0 that time, but anything could happen. And Sassuolo also nothing to play for, but at the end of the day, like these are professional footballers. Some of them might say, I don't care, but some of them might just be like, hey, we could ruin Milan's chance for a Scudetto. What is that to us? Nothing, but at least we'll be known as the team that stopped them from winning the Scudetto. Like all these years later, we're still talking about fatal Verona. So any team is going to want to be the one that ruins someone's Scudetto chances. So to see the mentality that they came in with today, if they can carry that through the next 2 games, not going to say anything, don't jinx anything, but it makes me more confident in the squad. So let's keep that mentality up and that level of play because it was a great performance today.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even begin on how much I despise at least Sassuolo this season with such ridiculous valuations of their players. And then this little rivalry between Verona and Sassuolo in the middle of the table here, with Verona having similar or even players who are performing better than some of these Sassuolo players with such lower valuations. So just coming out here, giving it to them. But, at the end of the, wrapping up the season here with still having to play Sassuolo, Atalanta. Those are big matches, and you said it best. We have to go ahead and treat both of them like they are finals. And I mean, I can't complain if we go out there and score 3 more goals each game. It'll be exciting if we saved all of that attacking aggression at the end of the season. Not complaining. I probably said earlier in our previous podcast that I might, but now I'm not. Quick question here from our friend here, Matt. Welcome to the stream. Nice to see you. We talked about unsung heroes coming up big and delivering goals. How special is it that it's a born and bred Milanista, Sandro Tonali, scoring the 2 goals? I mean, it's absolutely special. Not only that, but it's his birthday here. He was super hungry, robbed of a hat trick here. And you could just see it that the mentality is that he really wants to go ahead and lift the Scudetto here. I think Tonali is the future of this club and the future of the national team, the Azzurri. So I know that this season there's always discussion between fan bases, Tonali, Locatelli, Barella, all of that. But I think in Tonali we have a really special and special player in both one who looks at the badge and one that is out there performing, and he really wants to go ahead and, as I said, lift the Scudetto with Milan. So it'll be really special if he continues this form. I think today, just overall, just getting those goals in, he's so icy when he scores. He gets up there. He's not out there flaring and stuff like that. I don't know. It's just very exciting. You could just feel the boss presence in him. How are you feeling? How special is it for you?
Yeah, because these days we all say loyalty's dead in football. Don't love the player, just love the shirt. But Tonali is one of those players where we can do that like old school thing of saying, this guy actually wants to be here. This is
Mhm.
not just a paycheck for him. He loves the club. He loves the fans. Like he's more fired up to be here. And I have no doubt that if he had gone to Inter or somewhere else, he would be extremely professional and done everything he could for the team. But it's that little extra passion and just maturity for someone who just turned 22 years old to be able to have that jump from coming from Brescia and going to Milan last year, the club he supported as a kid, having a really rough time. He was always getting stupid cards, stupid yellows, reds, whatever. The fans were ragging on him, like probably I'd say 95% of the fans ragging on him. And this man was just like, you know what? Nope, I'm going to work hard. I'm going to do my best. And when the season started, we didn't know that Kessie was leaving. So it wasn't like he just got his spot because Kessie was leaving and they wanted to focus on the future. This man worked his ass off to get that starting spot, and just to see what it means to him. Like you could see it in his social media, you could see it when he's on the pitch, you could see it even when he's on the bench. Like it just warms my heart because yeah, I know most players for them it's just a job, but we as fans, we love this club, and to see that one of our players does as well, it's just the best feeling in the world. And every day I think, "Oh, I am so glad he didn't go to Inter for whatever it was." Everybody said it was Conte wanted Vidal instead of him. If that's the case, I think I need to send like a bottle of wine to Conte for not pursuing him, because it's been an absolute joy and a pleasure to have Sandro Tonali in a Milan shirt week in and week out.
It'll be exciting to see what he brings against Atalanta at Bergamo. The history of him playing for Brescia, rivalry there.
Yep.
So again, even the rivalry between Milan and Atalanta there. So hopefully he can go ahead and deliver again or bring us an exceptional performance. But that's not coming up here for a while. I think next game here is next weekend. And thank you for that awesome question here. Go ahead and see any other comments here from our lovely chat. Pretty exciting win. A lot of people demonstrating their Forza Milan guys. Really exciting. Pioli was on fire. Pioli on fire.
Yes.
Very exciting. I think this was definitely one of the more entertaining victories for Milan. I think the aggression from the players and mentality. We looked at the player ratings here, one of the higher rating ones for everybody. No fives out there, so that's awesome. No 5.5s either. Wrapping up here, as we mentioned, Milan sit at the top here with 80 points. Going forward here, the two matches, very important. Have to go ahead and treat them like finals. Atalanta here, the next one, while our rivals Inter have the Coppa Italia final, Juventus, and then Cagliari here. So it's in our hands. We could go ahead and keep complaining what we see in the other matches, but it's up to us to go ahead and go out there and get the 3 points done. This has been a very exciting post-match discussions. Sabrina, any final thoughts here before we go ahead and wrap up?
Yeah, it's just great to see everybody chiming in on the chat, talking about wins when we were so dejected a few weeks ago and we thought we blew it. We had in our hands and we thought we blew it. To be at this point of the season and still playing for something and to have it be against our city rivals is just, it's so exciting. It's making everything really stressful, but really exciting. So I'm nervous but optimistic about the rest of the season. I can't wait to see what happens when we play Atalanta next weekend, and just hoping that the guys come with the right mentality. And it would be really, really nice if Cagliari could take some points off of Inter, but I'm not going to expect that. I'm not going to count on that. I'm just going to assume Inter are going to win their next two games and just hope that we can do enough so that we win, because that would be I mean, with how hard this team's worked, with all the injuries that we've gone through, the ups and downs, just so many, like the players leaving, the media scrutiny, like to cap the season off with winning the league would be absolutely incredible. And it's something that we haven't felt in over a decade. So I'm really excited, really hopeful, but really nervous. So Forza Milan, and hopefully we'll be here next week equally as happy as we are now.
Yeah, well said. Hopefully we will be. And it has been a long time coming, guys, the Scudetto. It's been an incredible journey so far for us, everyone here at Milan Reports. I know we kicked off again the podcasts early this year. So we've been covering the second half of the season. We had so much. You mentioned already some of it with the media drama, players wanting to go ahead and stay and then leaving, that whole pre-African Cup of Nations post the beginning of February, where we popped up for out showing world class now 0-0 stretch where we were teams here. It feels like one heck of a roller coaster here. And as we're wrapping up the season, again, I can't wait for the end of the season recap that we'll go ahead and discuss. Hopefully, we'll be popping champagnes and getting excited on stream with everybody. It's been an amazing pleasure, everyone who's joined us in chat today. Thank you so much for all of your lovely questions and also your fantastic comments and discussion. We're able to go ahead and always take a look at what you guys are saying. Pretty great to continue the conversation. We continue the conversation on our social media platforms like Twitter. So go ahead and always check out the awesome articles that our writers go ahead and post out. Always go ahead and listen to this stream again on YouTube once that link comes out. But again, enjoy the rest of the Sunday, guys. Milan victorious 3-1. Forza Milan. Take care.